Hi, I'm Dr. Karen Curry Parker here with your weekly energy forecast for the week starting on Monday, March the 24th. So I want to invite you to sit back, relax, grab a cup of tea if you need to. As usual, this year we have a lot to unpack. So we've got an eclipse at the end of this week, we got a new moon, and we've got a bunch of interesting conjunctions this week. So let's just settle in and explore what's going on in the celestial weather. So I want to start first by talking about disruption, which is the conversation topic heading that I've been talking about all year, but I want to bring us back into understanding and maybe reframing your perspective on disruption. We're in a disruptive season. Disruption happens all the time in the celestial weather. It is a disruption can be anything that can be any event or any perception of an event that can leave you feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under you, right? It can be finding inappropriate text messages on your beloved's phone. It can be a health crisis or a health scare. It can be losing a job. Disruption can also be good things, but we often don't focus on that. Usually we experience disruptions that, at least in the beginning, can feel traumatic, shocking, surprising. It can leave you feeling like you're walking down the street and you're getting ready to put your foot down, and all of a sudden the sidewalk has moved and you don't quite know where to get your footing and your bearing again. Cycles of disruption oftentimes leave us feeling like we've screwed up. Sometimes we beat ourselves up when we go through cycles of disruption. Part of that is the denial and the bargaining phase of grief. And whenever we go through cycles of disruption, it's really normal to also go through a season or a cycle of grief. Basically, what's happening is the story of who you are is disrupted. In other words, you've outgrown your story. And if we start to think about disruption as being a symptom of your soul calling you forward to experience deeper alignment and to maybe expand and grow into something more worthy of you, seasons and cycles of disruption can be catalytic. They can ultimately cause you to experience whatever it is you need to experience to step out of limitation and places where perhaps you've settled or compromised or even caved. There's an expression that says, I prayed to God for flowers and he sent me rain. That's a really good summary of a disruptive cycle, that sometimes it doesn't look like we want it to look in the beginning, but if we wait long enough, and most importantly, if we intentionally steer the disruptive process with awareness, then we can use these cycles of change as a way of consciously and deliberately growing into the story we want to be living in. So I've written and created for you a free little workbook. I'll post the link for it below, about transformation and seasons and cycles of transformation. That includes disruption. If you are interested in learning more about disruption, or you want some support in going through the exercises in this workbook, join our free Facebook group. It's Quantum Human Design. I'll post again the link to the Facebook group as well. Every Friday for the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be in there at 9 a.m. Central talking about seasons and cycles of disruption and how you can take back control over these seasons that oftentimes can leave us feeling really out of control, right? And we're going to be talking about things like grief by design and how different aspects in your chart might make you prone to experiencing or getting stuck in certain cycles of grief. We're going to be talking about how to take back control over what direction your life takes following a season of disruption. And of course, we're going to be relating it back to not only your own life, but also what's going on a collective level. How do we go through this huge 3-year-long season of disruption that we're right smack dab in the middle of, and make the most of it? Use it as an opportunity for us to actually strengthen our direction, strengthen our connection to ourselves, and go through this season, both personally, on a community level, and on a collective level, go through the season and keep our power and our individuality intact. So scroll down below, click on those links. It'll take you to opportunities for you to learn something new, hopefully, that will help you get through this season of disruption. Okay, the celestial weather for the week. We have an eclipse coming up on March the 29th. That's Friday, Saturday, depending on where you live. This eclipse is a partial solar eclipse. Now, anytime we have an eclipse, It amps up, it amplifies whatever is going on in the celestial weather. Solar eclipse is always paired with a new moon. A lunar eclipse, like we had about 2 weeks ago, is always paired with a full moon. So we have a new moon, that's new beginnings. We have an amplified new moon because it's an eclipse, it's a partial solar eclipse, new moon. And we're in Aries season, which is obviously the springtime and the new beginning of the astrological year. It is a season of really powerful new beginnings. And certainly I would say the big theme of this eclipse is definitely bold new beginnings, right? It's where this energy has really in store for us the potential for powerful change, a catalyst for powerful change. Mars is the ruler of Aries. So Mars is sort of impetuous and powerful and kind of forceful and a little bit fiery, right? So we've got this youthful energy playing out with this Aries energy. And of course, this theme that's all about new beginnings. But I want to remind you that a new beginning in the beginning doesn't always look like it's going to look in the end, that sometimes those new beginnings can feel disruptive. They can feel catalytic. They can feel uncertain. And as I said, sometimes it can leave you feeling like the rug got pulled out from under you, or you don't know where the sidewalk is and you're standing on one foot trying to figure out where do I put the other foot to move forward. So I want you to be prepared that there's always that potential of that catalytic, explosive, instant event that can change everything. And for you to remember that that might be the rain that ends up bringing the flowers. So the energy of this new moon partial solar eclipse highlights the gate 17, the gate of anticipation in quantum human design. Now, I want to talk about that for just a minute because it's an energy that in the shadow can be the gate of opinions. And opinions, when we're spewing them, and I'm not talking about you personally, I'm just saying collectively, we've gotten into a habit, I think, of spewing opinions. Go to any social media page and you'll see in the comments of pretty much anything you post on social media, spewing of opinions, right? And certainly even criticism. I want to bring us back to thinking about, first of all, the intentional use of language and recognizing and remembering, as this gate 17 points towards the throat center from the ajna, that our language creates the infrastructure for what we grow. It's why when we talk about how we speak and how we share, that it's so important that we share and speak with integrity and with a high quality of intention. The throat center, when we speak, when we talk, the words we use, they literally are like the framework of a house. That language sets the tone and the direction for how we connect, how we relate. It gives us new connections to possibilities and opportunities. It initiates things. Sometimes it also can destroy things. So it's always an important reminder to use our language with great intention and with great responsibility. It's also important to understand that rightness and the need to be right is often a symptom of low self-worth. And certainly I would say when the energy for opinions, which is the shadow of the gate 17, is rolling through the celestial weather, it's very easy for us to want to be right, to get married to an idea that feels right, or to even have ownership over an idea so that we can be the one who brought the right idea to the table. I certainly want to invite you this week to think about, do you have any attachments to being right? And are you open to instead being curious? Certainly in the high expression, this gate 17 is anticipation, and it certainly can be a place where we are sharing language appropriately. And when I say appropriately, with this energy, it's what we call projected energy in the chart, meaning we're not really designed to share our opinions or even our ideas, even our stories, unless we're asked first. So one of the things that you can do to ensure that you have a good environment for your ideas, a good environment that supports your thoughts, that supports your opinions, and or that we're creating an environment where we're receiving this information with our hearts and it becomes uplifting and inspiring instead of critical and judgmental, is to make sure that the outer environment sustains the correct use of this energy. In other words, wait for people to ask. Wait for people to ask your opinions. And if you're really feeling like you'd like to hear somebody's opinion, give them the gift of asking for their opinion. This same energy, when we use it well, is an energy that opens us up to new options, new possibilities, even potentially a wee bit of optimism. And, I want to remind us that this energy, anticipation, in the shadow is not only opinions, it can lead to worry, right? It can lead us to being afraid. Do I have enough? Do I have enough stuff in the basement? Have I stocked up enough money? Do I have, that fear of anticipating the worst case scenario and feeling anxiety and pressure around making sure that we are taking care of the worst case scenario. That fear can be handled with optimism, possibility thinking, and understanding our options. Now, I am not saying, especially if you are a fourth line profile in quantum human design, that you shouldn't be prepared, right? You should have a storm shelter of some kind. You should have maybe some extra water. You never know what's going to happen, right? Stuff can happen. I live in Wisconsin. We have tornadoes. We have really, really cold weather. And, we have a generator because you really can't live here without heat. So, you've got to be prepared for the predictable worst case scenarios. But we also have to make sure that we're not over preparing out of fear and worry, and certainly not letting the fear and worry cause us from being present, and certainly cause us to shut down the possibility that maybe it could all work out. Maybe it could be really great. Maybe we're in a cycle that's catalyzing something better. Certainly maintaining optimism keeps the creative parts of our brains open, keeps us open and receptive to inspiration, and allows us to entertain possibilities from a different perspective. So there's a statement that's like, what is it? Prepare for the worst, but expect the best. That might be a good theme for this week. Prepare for the worst, but expect the best. And I certainly would say, in conjunction with all of this, be mindful of the fact that some of our greatest resources are each other, community, and making sure that we're cultivating community together, that we are using, again, our words responsibly and staying in the flow of the possibility of inspiration and uplifting each other rather than competing for who gets to be right. Now, that's the eclipse. All right, let's talk about what else is going on. This week, we also have Neptune, Mercury, which is in a retrograde station, Venus was in a retrograde station, all highlighting the gate 25. Now, the gate 25 is a place where higher purpose lives in the chart. It's also a place where our connection to source or spirit lives. So these energies, and Neptune is already a spiritual planet that oftentimes highlights our spiritual purpose or a spiritual theme. Venus is all about love and beauty and creativity. Mercury is about communication. We're thinking a lot right now about, why am I here? What is my purpose? And certainly, I think sometimes when we get tested in a cycle of disruption, one of the weird hidden blessings of cycles of disruption and the testing that can come is that it does cause us to have to really pare down to the essentials. And certainly on a creative level, on a spiritual level, we're being invited back into a space where we are locking in to our basic creative spiritual skills. We're being invited to be intentional. We're being invited to, especially when we don't have the answer, to connect with source, to pray, to meditate. And most importantly, we're being invited to explore the question, who am I and what am I here to do? What is my purpose in life? And certainly the celestial weather this week offers us, with this brand new, big, new beginning energy with the eclipse, is really offering us an opportunity to reevaluate, where are we headed? What are we doing? On a personal level, certainly on a collective level, but really on a personal level, and asking ourselves, what's mine to do in the world? What is mine to do in the world? And who do I need to be to get that job done? Because you're the only one in the world who can do it. That's the cool part about it, right? You are the only person in the world who can do you. And so this sort of heavy conjunction highlighting this gate 25 is really causing us to kind of have a new focus, to create new priorities, to reevaluate and maybe realign ourselves back towards our real purpose. And I want to remind you that your purpose is never about what you do. It's never about what you do. What you do is a symptom of being on purpose, right? What you do is an artifact of living true to yourself. Your purpose is to be true to yourself. Your purpose is to live your life as yourself. You are the only person in this entire cosmos. You're the only creation in this entire cosmos that can do that. You are the only person, the only creation in this cosmos that can live your story. And that story, that little part of the cosmic plan that only you can fulfill, is your purpose. And the purpose is to be the fullest, richest, juiciest, most relentlessly authentic expression of the person you were born to be. And so I invite you this week, as we continue to sit in this pressure cooker of possibility, AKA cycle of disruption, for you to also think about what needs to happen for you to really continue to bring your life and your life story into its fullest expression. How do you need to live? How do you need to be in order to be the fulfillment of that story that only you can fulfill? We're being catalyzed. We're being, activated to bring ourselves back to that core, essential priority. How do I be who I am? How do I live as myself? How do I be the person I was born to be? And how do I do this in the most relentlessly authentic, powerful, beautiful way possible? So think about that this week. Take good care of yourselves. Don't take anything personally this week. That's my biggest initiative for you this week. Don't take anything personally. Give yourself the time and the space to sit, to contemplate. There might be some rightness in what somebody else is saying if we don't like it in the beginning. And if it feels like criticism, don't take it personally. Have a good week. I'll talk to you next week.